Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Brewed Podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Bryce.
And I'm Adonis.
This is a podcast where... Why don't you explain it, Adonis?
Oh, yeah. So the three of us have been hanging out for a while, and we started hanging out and drinking coffee. So we figured we'd record those conversations for you guys to enjoy. We're going to be talking about coffee and just life, just hanging out, sipping, and talking.
What did we have today, Jen?
We had a pour-over type of thing. Is it a pour-over?
Yeah, it's definitely a pour over.
It's called, maybe some of you have heard of this, but it's called a Chemex.
A Chemex, yeah.
It's spelled with CH.
Did we decide that was that the brand name, like a specific brand, or is that the style?
That's
we haven't...
Because it's just the
It's
pour over style.
Yeah, it's a pour over. I don't know.
We have an off-brand one. But, yes, that style. It's a glass type of thing. Very smooth outcome.
We are definitely the authority on coffee here, guys. We promise we know what we're talking about. I swear to God.
We're the authority, but we're also all learning together.
We're all learning. Yeah, this is a learning experience for everybody.
We don't know
involved.
how to measure.
Yeah.
We're always trying new things, and we don't know how to measure, but that's only because we don't have a food scale.
Yeah,
we'll get one.
We've learned that we need a scale to measure out coffee, because apparently you have to be very specific how much coffee you use compared to how much water you use.
But for estimating, it definitely turned out really, really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good. And
The bag that we had, the beans smelled so good.
Yeah, that was so we were drinking diesel dark roast from Atomic Coffee Makers. And we found that through this website that we've been trying out. It's called Trade Coffee. And it basically
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. They're not sponsoring us, but we're coffee drinkers, and this is a coffee website that Taylor makes or Taylor recommends a type of coffee to you based on your taste in coffee. So it's really cool. You go on the website and you do like a really quick quiz. It's like a personality quiz, kind of.
Delivered right to your front door.
Yep, and then they'll make recommendations for you based off of that quiz. And like Jen said, once you sign up for it, they'll send you a bag of coffee. I went ahead and did it, and and I got my coffee within like 2 days. It was pretty
you got it
pretty
really
quick.
fast.
Yeah, so again, they're not sponsoring us, but we feel like this is a cool way to explore some new flavors, explore some new roasters. And it's the really cool thing that I like about it is that they roast the beans to order. So like your coffee beans aren't roasted until you decide that's the brand and the type that you want. So that's really cool. So they're not just like pulling it off a shelf somewhere. So yeah, I got recommended this diesel dark roast. I think, Bryce, you said you got recommended the exact same thing. So yeah, they have 52 different roasters with over 400 different types of coffee. So that's crazy that we got the exact same type of coffee.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe that's like a basic one that they always start like dark roast drinkers off with. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's how it goes.
what was the notes behind it? Because honestly, I did not like it that much.
It says comforting and rich, very smooth, great rich taste. So maybe we were talking about how smooth it tasted.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe
do
in the
like.
Chemex.
I
Maybe
like
that was
about the pour over. Maybe the smoothness was about the bean that we had, because it was definitely
Well,
a silky texture.
but then
Yeah.
we had the same one with French press.
True.
I
Yeah.
definitely
It didn't taste as smooth.
I
But you guys-
definitely like the smoothness of the pour over, but I didn't like the aftertaste of the actual coffee.
Okay.
Was it bitter for you, or what was it?
Yeah, it was bitter.
Yeah, 'cause I
I
didn't
don't even
taste
know how
that.
to describe
No,
it.
I
It was
didn't
just-
taste any bitterness either.
But
Do you
you-
normally drink dark roast though? Are you a dark roast drinker? Or
I don't know.
You're
Last
gonna
time
learn.
we only had dark all
yeah,
day.
the coffee
Yeah.
that we had last time, it was a dark, and that didn't have the same.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't know.
But you, for the French press, you added cream to yours, or
I
don't know,
added cream to the first
before
one, too.
you
Oh,
before
true.
you tested it, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't add anything to either the pour over or the French press, and there's definitely a difference in the smoothness, that silky texture we noticed. The pour over had it, but the French press definitely did not have that silky texture. And I don't know if it was just a difference in ratio of the amount of grind we were putting in, because again, like we didn't specifically measure it by the grams, like the way the website, the way she recommends doing it, we didn't strictly measure it out, so maybe that had something to do with it. But
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm shaking already, so it did its job.
You know what's cool though, and while we're talking about the different types of roasts, one thing that I had always thought for my entire life, I thought the darker the roast, the more caffeine was in the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
And
because it's like a bolder
yeah, that's
taste.
what you think. But like Jen, when we first started going out and hanging out for coffee, she told me that the opposite was actually true, and that the lighter roasts actually have a little bit more caffeine than the darker roasts do, which blew my mind for one,
Yeah.
because I feel like lighter roast tastes less coffee-ish than the darker roast, maybe. But I was equating taste with caffeine kind of,
Yeah.
and I think that's a
That's
common
what I
mistake.
used to do it.
The other
too.
one is the darker is just burnt longer,
Yeah.
basically.
Burnt longer.
So can you say it non-technically speaking that it burns the caffeine out,
Roast.
maybe? Or
Maybe. I don't know.
we'll have to look
Yeah.
into that and we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, 'cause
Or
it
you guys can
dries
write
it
in and let
out.
us know.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
We'll look into it. But in the meantime, write in. Let us know what roast you guys like. Is it a medium roast? Is it a dark roast? Is it a light roast? We'd
Try
love to
doing
hear
that
you.
quiz on their
Yeah.
website too. See what Taylor recommendation you get.
The website is drinktrade.com. So again, not sponsored by them or anything, but we're liking what we're seeing so far. As Jen
it's a
obviously
cool website.
just proved, we're not sponsored because she didn't give that first one a glowing recommendation. So I liked it a lot, and we'll get to it. But yeah, send those emails into brewedconvos@gmail.com. Let us know what roast is your favorite.
Yes, and I have another question for you guys.
Ooh.
Is there a moment that you can think of where you were like, that was the best cup of coffee I've ever had?
That's a big question, man. I've had a lot of coffee in my day. A lot of coffee in my 30 years on this earth.
I'll start.
Go
I'll
ahead.
start.
Yeah, you start, Jen.
So, I love coffee. Every day I'm looking forward to it. Like, so I love coffee, but I think my favorite or the best cup that I've had has to be in Mexico with my grandma. And the thing about it is that it's not even about the taste really, because it's just regular instant, like basic coffee, Just add a little bit of cream, a little bit of sugar, and I'm good. But it's just like being around my whole family, and like everyone drinks coffee in the morning. Everyone has the water going, and at night too. Like sometimes I don't drink it at night, but it's just about everyone being together and that warmness, and like, it's a good feeling.
So you connect coffee with family, generally speaking, you think?
Yeah. Like I'd love to have even more people that I just sit down with, have coffee, and like just talk. There's just something about it that I love.
For sure.
That's why I'm glad I can do it with you guys.
Definitely.
A lot
we
of
wouldn't
other
be doing
people-
this podcast if coffee was just about coffee for us, right?
Yeah.
Like coffee,
Yeah.
we use it as a means to like get into these conversations and to hang out and be with people. I would go with, though, like a little bit on the other side of that. Like my favorite cup of coffee, probably, or the best cup of coffee I ever had, wasn't really related to people. So for those of you who know me, know that I'm a pretty avid Harry Potter fan. And I remember when the 7th book was about to be released, so it's July of 2007. I remember going to Borders, standing in line, waiting for the book release. Everybody was hanging out at this book release party at Borders, the bookstore. I know I'm dating myself a little bit by talking about Borders, but big
Might
party.
have to explain what Borders is.
It was like Barnes and Noble, but worse. So they had a cafe in there, and I remember me and my best friend at the time, Mustafa, were hanging out there, just super excited for this book to drop. We were huge Harry Potter fans, and finally getting the book. And on my way out, they had their cafe open, because this is when they did midnight releases for books, which is crazy talk now. They didn't do midnight releases for movies. But Harry Potter obviously is this huge, epic, drop. So they were doing midnight release. So cafe was open. I remember getting my book, finally getting to hold it in my hands. I was about to walk out the door, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get a cup of coffee before I go home to start tearing into this thing and reading it. Got my coffee. This was before I was any kind of coffee connoisseur. I had no idea what I was doing, so I probably got like something super sweet, like a mocha or something, because I didn't have the taste buds for real coffee yet. But getting that coffee, heading home, staying up all night, just like sipping the coffee and reading this book and just getting lost in this story that I had grown up with and that I had loved so much. And yeah, I just remember, like, I specifically remember staying up all night and sipping on that coffee and reading that book, and it was one of the best nights of my life for sure. And I was surrounded by no one, just myself and Harry Potter, I guess. But yeah, that's probably my favorite memory where coffee is concerned.
That's cool. I know it wasn't a Harry Potter question, but like I remember that same book release. I'd never gone to a midnight book release before. That was the only one I ever had. I was super excited to do it, and me and my buddy went to it, and I believe I was definitely still in high school at the time. And I just remember we went to it, got our copies, and then we went to our high school and just like parked in the parking lot because it was all like right next to each other. And that's where we would kind of meet up and go for runs and stuff anyway. So we just parked there and sat on the curb outside. I don't know why. We honestly didn't just decide to go to Mesa. I think maybe it was between our houses or something. And we just hung out there and read for a couple hours. But yeah, I remember that book releases. That's nuts. I forgot all about midnight book releases.
I've never been to one.
But best cup of coffee. I don't know if I have a best moment, but I definitely have lots of moments I think about or best times. And they usually relate to the same days that I have my best showers and best eats, like best times I've had, like best dinners and stuff.
For sure.
It's usually hardworking days or like days where I wake up really early to do something. But instances that come in mind are when I used to work at the theater. I would back when I was like 16, 17, I would do lots of just weekend work, but I would close all the way to like 2 or 3 in the morning and come right back at 6 or 7 to open. And I was a supervisor. Well, wasn't the technical title then, but I was then, so I would get coffee for all the openers, and I would just go to Starbucks, pick up a bunch of mochas and frappuccinos and stuff.
Nice.
And just get coffee for all the openers. And there's a Saturday morning routine that I just kind of did, and those were always the best. It's just because we were all in there together. A lot of us usually had closed together the night before. It was usually not a fresh crew. It was usually just lots of we called them clopeners, close openers, and it was just a ton of fun. We just would all bond over that and just do the work and get to it. Another favorite instances were in Denmark. I visited some friends in Denmark a couple years ago, and they drink coffee all the time. I mean, it could be 6 in the morning, it could be 10 p.m. Like, put on a fresh pot of coffee. And I had never had so much coffee ever. And but every cup I had while I was there, and I think it was just the fact that I was traveling, I was out of country, visiting friends I hadn't seen in a long time. I think all that combined just made every cup just kind of special. I mean, it did taste really good too. I always bring back some of their basic kind of house blend beans. But just while I'm there, every cup was kind of special because of that.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you talk about locations. When I was in New York, and I remember the first time I used to work like on Times Square in downtown, or Midtown Manhattan actually, and there was a food truck right next to the place that I worked at, and I started going there, and I would get a sandwich and get a cup of coffee. And I remember the first time going there, I was like, "Oh, can I get a coffee?" And he was like, "Oh, what, like, you want?" And I was like, "With cream and sugar." And he was like, "Oh, we say light and sweet here in New York." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So then he like walked me through the ordering process. So I would go back to that place like 2 or 3 times a week, and I was going there so much, he started to remember me, and he would basically have my order ready for me as soon as I walked up, and like, it was just really cool, and I felt like a real New Yorker, just walk up like, "Can I get a light and sweet coffee?" And I got 2 eggs on a roll with hot sauce was my breakfast sandwich, and it was really cool. But yeah, just like being a part of that, like, I feel like you're
community,
a part of
a culture, an environment.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
But that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. All right, you guys want to go grab a refill, and then we'll come back and have our big conversation?
Let's do it.
All right.
So I did have another question for you guys, because I wanted to talk today about like romantic partners, you know?
Okay.
So my question is, I mean, let's just start off with like, what do you guys think someone as a partner should be in quotes, you know? Like, what is an ideal partner? What is the point? Or like, what do you guys think? Like, are you guys romantic people?
Well, Jesus tells us that the purpose of partners is to procreate and replenish the earth. No, I'm joking.
Oh wait, you weren't serious? That's how So is that a wrong answer?
I'm sorry for any religious people out there. But anyway, we're gonna move past this. I think that the purpose of a partner is to grow. I think you need to be with someone who you can grow with and who supports you and will always be there for you and support your dreams and someone to grow with. I think that's at the basis of any good relationship. That's what you need. Someone that's gonna help you become the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to change on that because that's exactly right now. That's a huge thought in my life at the moment, and because I'm not dating right now, I am single, but I'm not dating, and it's pretty intentional. And right now I'm just focused on just my life, myself, just your cliche answers in that stage of life right now, and. But I do have an end goal in mind. I have my dreams in mind and my vision of my goals and trying to achieve them in mind. And when I picture those things, I do picture someone there with me, and I try and imagine what, not physical aspects, but I do try and imagine what that person represents to me and who they are and what I'm doing for them as much as they're doing for me, and like what the symbiotic relationship would be like. Sure. And it's hard. It's still something I'm trying to create because I am focused on myself right now. So it is pretty hard for me to think about what a partner is for me because that's something I'm discovering right now. So, yeah. But again, like that's something it's mine, being someone you can grow with. Someone, I mean, that's really an important part. So it's not a whole lot to add to that for me right now.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I remember that we were talking about friends, and I was like, well, should your partner be your best friend? Yeah. Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't think so. Or that they have to have like the same interests as you.
Yeah, like the two aren't, like, you don't have to be both.
And I think that's something that's been on my mind a lot because most of my relationships have been people who don't have, like, we have similar energies and similar, like, high energy. We like to go out and do things. Yeah. And we're at home. We each have our own separate thing we do. Sure, yeah. And so usually we don't have a lot of day-to-day living in common. Mm-hmm. But we always support each other and always through. But then my relationships tend to end. And I think part of that is because there's almost nothing on a day-to-day thing in common. So that's been part of what I've been thinking about. When I say day to day, I mean like when we come home or when we're with each other, we have a day off or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe we decided to go, hiking, or maybe I just want to sit down and play games. I would like to have someone that's as interested in, maybe because I have friends that love just watching people play games. So maybe I meet someone who does enjoy that, or maybe she likes her crime shows or whatever she's into, and so something I can just like sit down and that, or that we have shows that we want to watch together, or like maybe she's into anime but she's not into games, or I'm into something, like vice versa, maybe I'm into something, just things that we have, because normally there's not like a show we have in common, or there's not that game we can play together, or there's usually just not that. We kind of always, for my past relationships, it's always just been,
so like common interests are important.
I think I think they're more important than I thought they needed to be.
Yeah. What about you, Jen? Do you agree with that? Do you think like you need to have similar interests in a partner?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking about all these things that I do. Like I go to concerts, I would love someone to go with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you can definitely go with your friends. You can do anything with your friends.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what, like, we were talking about friendships last time, kind of for a little bit, and we were saying that that you have some friends that you go do this with, and some friends that you play board games with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they have different energies to give you, but I think it's not like super important that my partner has to like everything that I like, but I do think it helps.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think
'cause I
common
think it's
interests
like-
are important
Yeah.
for sure. I don't. For me, I don't see them as like the be all end all of a relationship. Like I don't think
Oh yeah.
like we can like drastically different types of music. Like with my girlfriend, like we don't really listen to the same types of music. There's a little bit of crossover, but like generally speaking, we don't listen to the same types of music. So, you know, just bringing up your concert example, there's not really a lot of concerts that I could go to with her. But for me, first of all, I'm not like I don't need to go to concerts. Like I like to, but it's not like they're not as important to me as probably as they are to you, Jen. And also like I have friends that like the same type of music that I do, and I would much rather share that experience with someone who is going to enjoy it with me rather than someone just going to it because they want to support my decision to go to it. You know, that's important to a degree. Like you want to support your partner and things that they do, but I think a good relationship, you can exist together separately.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that
For
was
sure.
good phrasing
Yeah.
for what I've been trying to figure out how to phrase too. And also, I think part of my thinking has been trying to figure out which common interests are important
Okay.
to me.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a huge part of the process for me is which ones, because you're not gonna. I mean that wouldn't be. Some relationships do work like that where you all share the same exact interests, and that does work. But I know that the type of women I generally date or am attracted to, we each are very independent and have our own things going on, which is I love that. But I would also love to have those couple things that we do together. And I spend a lot of time outside, but I'm an introvert at heart, so I love to just sit down and just watch shows, anime,
Yeah.
TV,
Yeah.
movies. I love to just sit down, see if I can talk, guys. That coffee is really getting to me. I would love to just sit down and play games for 8 hours. Like maybe we play Mario Kart for 8 hours,
Sure.
or maybe we just sit down and play an RPG together or something. I would love to do that. And if they're not into the outdoors like I am, that's fine. I have friends I can do that with, or I can do that on my own.
Yeah.
But at home, at a day-to-day basis, I think that's what's
So-
really important to me.
Besides anything like sexual, what is the difference between a partner and a best friend then?
That's a good question.
You know, that's a great question. I think I don't know. I mean, I think attraction is a part of it. Like I think attraction is a very people don't like to say that, or they think it's taboo to bring up attraction, physical attraction. But I think it's important and it needs to be established. And you need, like I can't be in a relationship with someone that I'm not physically attracted to, you know. And I don't think that makes you shallow. I just think that's a part of the whole thing, right?
It's a part of the chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's a difference. Like I don't have to be physically attracted to my friends, you know?
Yeah.
I don't need to be hanging out, like just if we're hanging out as friends, I don't need you to be like someone that I would date, you know? So I think that's a difference. I think, I don't know. I don't really see there being much of a difference, really. Like
That might
That's
be
true.
the biggest thing. That might be the thing
Yeah.
is the physical attraction part.
yeah.
The chemistry of the physical attraction. Because I feel like I want to make sure I phrase this right. Because I feel like you can appreciate the attraction of somebody or
Yeah.
someone's physical attributes, but not be attracted to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But then there's the chemistry of physical attraction.
Yeah.
So I think there's two sides to the physical attraction coin, and it's the chemistry, of course, that you're looking for that relation, for a partner versus
Because I'm sure we've all
someone
had
that's a best
friends
friend.
that we've been like, oh, this is my my friend is attractive,
Yeah.
but I'm not attracted to my attractive friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been there before. So,
Yeah.
and you know, I think you can't really manufacture chemistry. It's there or it's not. Like if I look at you
Yeah.
and I'm not, you're not unattractive, but you're just not someone that I would attempt to date. And as someone, I grew up with a lot of female friends. Like I always had, for some reason, my closest relationships were always with women, and all the time I got questions of, oh, are you guys dating, or oh, you guys hang out all the time, you must like each other. And it's like, no, first I just happen to be able to get closer in general, I think, to women than men historically. Now I feel like it's balanced out. But like if I look back at my relationships in the past, my one-on-one relationships, my deep relationships with people, friendships, what I'm talking about, not relationships, romantic relationships, but deep emotional friendships have been with women. And, you know, while I don't think they were unattractive, we just never crossed that line. You know, it was never about the physical, sexual stuff. It was always just about our relationship as friends. And it didn't even, for me at least, I can't speak for them, but in my mind, it never even crossed our minds to take it another step further, you know? Like it was always just we're friends. And I know like the nice guys, quote unquote, like to call that getting friend zoned sometimes. But I've never really believed in the friend zone. I don't get it. I don't get the whole idea of it. It's just like you're friends. Like every friendship doesn't need to progress into romantic relationship. But yeah, speaking as someone who has had several close relationships with women, I just think sometimes it's not there, you know, and it doesn't have to be, you know. So.
Yeah, I was just thinking about something, but the coffee is messing with my brain. I forgot. I totally blanked. But maybe if I keep talking, maybe I'll remember.
Ramble away is what the coffee's for.
But I was going to say something like, actually, yeah, I forgot.
While you're thinking about that, how so we talked about like the surface level stuff, for lack of a better phrase, like interest. I know that's not surface level for a lot of people, but stuff like that. How important is the deeper stuff? Like, is that more paramount?
Oh, like politics?
Well, politics, or like I could
talks.
Yeah, like I look at it as like I need to. I can't be attracted to someone who is a selfish person. I can't really be, and I mean, no one is going to admit to being selfish. Some people do, but I guess that's more of a character flaw. Or people who are like vain. Like,
but how would you know? Like, how would you know that they are?
I think, I mean, there are several tests I think you can run through your head.
Yeah, like, I think part of that is subjective view on like the level of vain or level of selfishness. I mean, some of that's subjective, but I mean,
just like people who are like constantly posting on social media, fishing for compliments.
Someone with morals that are so different from mine, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Even
if they were like, "Oh my God, you're so hot," and you. Oh, I remember my question.
Do it.
So when you're in a relationship, that person, because you're closer to them in a way, like a family member almost, you get. Everything they do affects you more than like a friendship affects you. Do you not think so? Do you not agree?
Is that your question, or
no? I'm just, so my question is, would you say that you kind of like when you're in a relationship, you kind of have, in a way, you're like. The connection you have with that person matters. Okay, I am not using the right words.
Keep going. You'll phrase it.
Compared to like a friendship.
Okay.
So you have a friendship, and then you have a romantic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that the romantic partner does affects you more like emotionally because you're more like tied to them closer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So like you're saying what your
words.
romantic partner does to you has a bigger effect on you than what a friend would do to you.
Yeah. So,
or
like what a friend does with their
own
life. Yeah. So do you think that maybe people care more about their romantic partners because of that, or do you think people don't care about their friends equally, or do you think?
If I agreed with that statement, then I would say yes. But for me, it's different because I feel like I value my friendships, my close friendships, just as much as I value my romantic relationship. You know, like my close friends, I would be just as hurt to find out, you know, things about them than I would be to find out the thing about my girlfriend. You know, like I feel like
But-
they equally have the effect on me. Their actions can equally affect me.
That's
you
true.
know, so
Like if they decide one day that actually their dream is to move to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And so like it'd be the same thing as with a partner, you think?
I
what you would
feel like I
feel?
would be involved in that discussion because like if my girlfriend was all of a sudden like, hey, I want to move to Wisconsin, I'd be like, okay, well, we
Yeah,
need
it's a
to
little
talk about
different,
that.
'cause
We need to
that's
figure out
incorporating two
Yeah.
lives. Two lives are intertwined.
Yeah, I'm part of that decision making. But if one of my friends, like if Bryce was like, "Hey, I'm moving to Wisconsin," yeah, I would be like, "Damn, okay, shit, why?" You know, like I would want to get.
But our
to
lives
the,
aren't intertwined, so it doesn't
exactly.
affect him in that way.
And I guess it would depend on your
Oh.
level of relationship. too,
Yeah,
like, where
and the
you're
word
at.
is like codependent. So if you're codependent, then you probably feel this way.
Codependent. That's a
I
word.
feel like it's a different.
Yeah.
What?
That's a code. That's a
So what I was
different
thinking of
conversation.
too was
Yeah.
like, you guys seen Broad City?
No,
I've seen clips,
but you've talked about it.
yeah.
So yeah, Alana's like the term that I was using. Remember when I watched that video, woman child?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So like an immature adult.
Okay.
That really depends on their friends
Sure.
and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, her friend Abby was like moving. Oh my god, sorry if I'm spoiling it. She was like
Spoilers, guys. But
gonna
it's for
try
an
to
analogy.
move away because of some art thing that
Uh-huh.
she wanted to do with her life. The city just wasn't for her anymore,
Hmm.
like the one that they were in. So, and
Yeah.
she was like heartbroken.
Yeah.
But
You know, I think it depends. I think it depends on the person. Like to bring up another TV show, the show Parks and Recreation. The main character Leslie has her best friend named Anne and her boyfriend named Ben, and it's a jokey scene. But she's like, Ben, if we were ever to break up, like it would suck and I would be hurt, but I'd get over it. She's like, Anne, if you ever left, I would be devastated and inconsolable. Like, so she was someone who she saw her friendship with her best friend as being something more valuable than her relationship with her husband.
yeah.
So I think I think it really just depends on the type of person you are.
Yeah.
But I don't think it automatically needs to default to, and maybe that's a shitty thing to say, because for me, I think my girlfriend is the most important thing in my life. But I don't think if it wasn't that way, that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. You know, like if I've been best friends with someone for
I think it
all
comes down
my
to personality and just how
yeah, and it bothers
the
me,
way you were
actually.
raised.
Yeah, it bothers me
Yeah.
when girls and guys who get into a relationship with someone and they immediately expect to jump up to the top of the priority list. Like that's a given because
Yeah.
we've been dating for a year. That means I need to be priority number one. So all your friends, even you might have known your best friend for 20 plus years, doesn't matter. I'm top
I'm
dog
in the
now.
relationship. Like I'm here. I'm number one. Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah. I've
that.
never subscribed to that. Do you think that's true?
Codependent. So I was using the wrong word. I'm confused.
When I hear codependent, I think that like my happiness is dependent on your happiness,
Yeah.
or my safety is dependent on your
yeah,
safety.
isn't that what I explained?
Mm,
Like you depend on someone to exist, basically.
I think you're.
I don't know.
I think
I'm
you're
confused.
almost. Yeah, I think you're almost explaining something, but not
Someone
completely.
smart explain it to me. Yeah. Well, okay. So what was your question again?
So like, do you feel like if you're in a relationship with someone, so your boyfriend now,
Uh-huh.
is he your top
love
priority, and does he need to be your top priority, or
Oh.
or vice versa? Do you need to be the top priority for him in his
So
life?
give me an example though. I think it does depend. Like if you like if
Just over anything.
So like,
Over
let's say
anything.
you wanted to go to a concert with,
Okay.
and your best friend, loved this artist, and your boyfriend loved this artist, but you only have 2 tickets. You can only take one of them. Would he automatically assume that he gets the other ticket because he's your boyfriend?
No.
Or what about you? Would you, if you loved a band or an artist, and his best friend loved that same band or artist, he could only take one of you? Would you automatically assume that
I
you're the
would
one who
not
gets the ticket?
assume. No, I would not assume, but I think a part of me would
Would you be hurt?
think that like
Would you be
not-
passive aggressive
not
on him?
hurt. I think I would like you want to experience those things with people sometimes,
Yeah.
and you might feel like there won't be another chance. So
Yeah.
maybe it might be sad, like an experience you didn't get to have, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like if you
But-
didn't already know where you were on that kind of decision priority list, and you learned based on that decision
Yeah.
instead
I
of
think
knowing beforehand.
I would totally like be okay. This is something that I've had to learn over the years, because I used to think that if they didn't pick me for something like that, that would mean that they didn't care about me, kind of thing. And I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't speak up about how it made me feel. But with him, I tell him everything, like not like everything. I'm talking about the things that I feel that
Yeah.
concern him. You know what I mean? Like if he tells me something and if I feel a certain way, or if I'm not sure how I feel, then I talk about it. So I think it's all about communication. But no, I've never like assumed. I think the only thing that would really like that I would assume would be like if it's my birthday, then I would assume that you would be there.
I mean, I feel like that's a little bit, that could be different.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what's happening, obviously. But
yeah,
I would think so. And so for like that question, for prioritizing and being at the top of the list or whatever for those kinds of things, I actually struggled with that. Not necessarily relationship wise, but friendship wise. I struggled with that for a lot in my early 20s. And because I never wanted anyone else to feel like they were unimportant or that I was bailing on them or things like that. And so, like, if I bailed on one person, I would bail on everyone. Like, I just wouldn't do anything that weekend
Because you don't want
because
to
I
seem
just
like you
didn't.
were
I didn't
choosing,
want to think I was choosing because everyone was important to me.
Yeah.
But then, I would miss out on things, or I would. It was not healthy. It's obviously not a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I eventually, I think mid-20s or sometime a few years ago, I had a really good conversation with a friend I've known since junior high, and I had a good conversation with him because I still treated friends I've had for a long time similar to friends I'd met like a year prior or something. I would still have that same thought process, and it just didn't feel right, and I never understood how to change that. And I asked him, like, how do you prioritize who's I forgot how I phrased the question, but I was like, how do you prioritize like friendships? Like, obviously there's not levels. You have close friends, you have acquaintances, you have coworkers, but how do you choose how you're spending your time? Like, how do you do that? He's like, well, the way I do it is I think about who's giving me their time. Ooh. Whoever gives me their time obviously wants to be a part of my life. And there's more to it than that, because, someone could be wanting to give me their time, but they're not someone I want to spend that much time with. But it still helps me think about it. Helps me think, well, I have these friends in my life, and these are the people that actively give me their time. So it kind of just helped put it into perspective a little bit. It's like, these people are trying to be in my life, so I can give them some time. But obviously, there's so many more factors to that. I mean, people could be busy. People could be. It doesn't. Does not.
That could start like a vicious cycle. So what happens if it's the other way around? It's like, I'm not hanging out with Bryce because he didn't want to hang out with me. But you're like, well, that person didn't want to hang out with me because
that's why. Yeah, and that's why you don't think about it in a cycle. But it helps. Like, for me, it definitely helped in just limiting my brain going crazy. Like, it helped. It helped me kind of like just narrow down my thoughts.
Too popular?
No, it wasn't about that. It was just I just want to not make people feel that, I'm choosing. I mean, now it's different. Now I understand like who I'm spending my time with and how I'm spending my time. Like, I've changed a lot. I've come a long way since those thoughts, but
sorry, real quick. Somebody said that during like all this COVID stuff that like somebody had posted that like you'll see who your true friends are or something, but then someone else was like, there's just so much going on that maybe you should reach out to them.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by like a cycle, because it's like you.
Yeah. I think that's when you take it to an extreme.
Yeah, I feel like me, because we've talked about. I don't know if anyway. I used to throw a lot of parties, and I would invite people, and a lot of people that I would invite wouldn't show up, but I would continuously invite them. And one time, one of those people that I invited but didn't show up ever finally showed up, and I was like, oh, wow, you actually came this time. And it was like, oh, super. And I started introducing him around, and we were having a conversation. And they told me like they really appreciated the fact that I never stopped inviting them to things, because they were like, I don't want to.
I'm actually the same.
Exactly.
People
it's all
invite
about.
Me, I'm really shy.
Yeah.
I get so anxious before I make this big deal in my head. So if I actually get up and go, it's like wow, like
Yeah, exactly.
And that's important for everyone to just think about and understand, is that just because someone's not coming, like that doesn't,
Yeah.
don't be high school about it. Don't be vendetta.
Exactly.
Like
I'm not
about
gonna,
it.
oh, they don't ever show up. And it's like, I look at it as I'm going to do what makes me happy. And that might sound selfish, but I'm going to do. So, like, looking at your situation, Bryce, and you're like, who do I give my time to? Like, who, especially, and that really applies to you because you travel a lot. So you only come home for a couple weeks at a time. You have to really think about how you're going to divvy up your time. So if I were in your position, I would sit down and I would be like, okay, who do I want to see? Like that's all, and I know that sounds selfish, but those people, even if they can't,
And that was the hardest
me,
thing for a long time.
Like even if they can't, like if I wanted to hang out with you, but you were busy, I would be like, damn, that sucks. But I'm not gonna not ask you to hang out because I feel like you're gonna be busy. You know, I'm always gonna extend. I'm gonna reach out to the people who I want to reach out to, and I think that if I started to be offended by or get butthurt. I know that's not the most mature phrase to use, but if I got butthurt by people not being able to show up, I wouldn't there would be no one that I would want to hang out with ever because you never know who's going to be busy and when they're going to be busy.
And you don't know, and it's the cliche saying, you never know what's going on in someone's life. You just and I just decided benefit of the doubt is just the best way to think about things.
Absolutely.
Like maybe they are choosing to go to someone else's party, but that's not your business. That's their business. That's their life that they're doing. It doesn't change the fact that you have a friendship and that you have good times when you spend that time with someone. There's still a good space. They still are a good friend. It just because they're going to they're doing something else, it doesn't change that at all. That's their business. It's their life. So.
I dated a girl in high school. And she broke up with me because one day she told me, like, we had plans to do something and she had to cancel. And I just said, okay, that's cool. We'll hang out another time. And she was like, I want you to be upset that I have to cancel. And I was like, well, that's not who I am. I'm not I'm not going to fake some kind of reaction to you having to cancel. She's like, every time I have to change plans, you were always just so okay with it. And I was like, listen, I know I'm only like 15, 16, but I know I'm too old for this shit. Like, I know this is not, I'm way too drama free to be like, oh no, well, like, I'm not going to start a fight with you to
That's another thing,
yourself.
When it comes to relationships, people that don't say what they mean, they kind of want somebody to read their mind or do something. It's like...
Yeah, I don't understand that. But to bring the question and the conversation kind of back on a circle, back to the prioritization in like relationship versus friendship, because I didn't actually fully answer that for the relationship part, because I've been thinking about it and, by thinking about it, I mean during this episode, and looking at my past relationships and things, and I do put them at the top of the list. I do put the relationship when I'm in, I've noticed I'm just looking back on my patterns and how I am in a relationship, and I do prioritize, like I find ways to spend more minutes with them. Even if it's someone I just started dating. Like to me, when I date someone, that is I'm choosing I don't like go on dates and dates. It's usually someone like a friend of a friend or someone I've kind of been around loosely over the years, over time, and I kind of know who they are, and it's like if I'm choosing to spend time with this person, like I know that this is a person I just want to continue spending. I see a future with this person generally, and then I want to see more. So I try and spend more and more time with them. So I prioritize them and find ways to do it. And I think that's just a natural thing.
Other friendships or other relationships.
It never
at the
did.
time?
Later, I mean, after the relationship ended and whatnot, I mean, I definitely had some friends say, "Oh, I'm glad you're not like dating her anymore," or "I'm glad this," but they never told me during the relationship. So it doesn't help me understand.
Do you think they were just afraid of like overstepping?
I think so. I mean, most of it was out of respect. I mean, it's definitely a lot of respect, and they all know I'm very independent, and I'm very like if I'm choosing to do something, I'm a very deliberate, intentional person. Yeah. So they understand that I'm making those choices, and I think they just knew if they gave me the 2 cents, I would hear it. But I think they also knew that's kind of where my personality can get. I don't want to say to a negative spec, but I can get tunnel visioned or focused. Like I will hear what people are telling me, but that's kind of been my thing with relationships.
I think a lot of people get like that with relationships.
Yeah. And I started learning my last 2 relationships I increasingly got. I mean, I kept those that thinking in my mind. So
What
I
do
mean,
you
I'm
guys
progressively
think
getting better.
about like the way that people move through relationships, like when they go slow or when they go fast. Like they move.
I think it
it's
depends on the
totally-
person,
yeah,
because I mean,
agree.
I have a
Exactly.
couple coworkers who they met and she was going to be moving across country like in a week or whatever after they met, and he just knew that he was going to go with her, and she knew that she wanted him to go with her, and
Yeah.
so he called his job, or he got in. I don't know what he did like job wise, but he was able to just transfer or get a new job, like, and he just moved up his whole life and went with her.
Yeah.
And
For-
it was
yeah.
just, and they're like, they've been dating for a couple years now, and they're getting married either this year or next. I think later this
guys
year.
think
And
that you have to know yourself a lot to be sure of those.
yes, I think that's
decisions?
one where these are people that just they know their lives, they know who they are.
That's good.
For me, see, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to fall in love. I think it happens randomly. I think it happens I think it happens quickly. I think it can happen slow over time. I don't think there's no right or wrong way to do it. So you just have to go with your emotions. You have to go with your gut. And I feel like a lot of
That's
people
scary.
get caught up. They get caught up on the, oh, well, we've only been dating for a year. Should we move in together or not? And then you have people who are like, we've been dating for 5 years and we want to move in together, and it's not the right time.
It's
So
just-
I don't think there's not like a set specific way to do it or to go through it. You just have to read each situation. I know people who are 18, 19 and who are very emotionally mature who can meet someone, and if they got married and they're 18 and 19, I would be like, okay, that's not a bad idea. But I also know 18 and 19-year-olds who jump into it, and I'm like, that's stupid. What are they doing? They're way too young. But I've had to come to the realization that maturity isn't an age thing. Maturity
Yeah.
comes to different people at different times. Because I know some 30, 40-year-olds who are immature and probably shouldn't be getting married, but they still do. So I've for me, it's all about maturity. It's about maturity, and it's about how you are going to grow in the relationship. But I don't think there's no one perfect way to be in a relationship with someone.
I agree with that completely. I don't even have anything to add to that. That says it all.
That's
Do you guys
beautiful.
how do you feel about, like, I've also had a friend, I'm not going to mention names, who is sort of a chameleon when it comes to relationships. They just sort of adapt to the interests and
I know
tastes
people
of
like
their
that
other
because
of their
they have
significant
no
other.
personality.
Ooh, yikes.
That's-
I didn't say it.
That is something that my early 20s, I definitely did that. I was the person that would just kind of absorb into the other person, because I like to get to know other friends who I'm dating, whoever. The way I learn about people is I dive into their interests. If their interests aren't my interests, I still go out of my way to listen to whatever music they're listening to now, just to get to know the person better, and just to kind of get a better frame of mind, and just to understand them better. And so that happens a lot. A lot of my relationships were based off of me doing that, but me not understanding it wasn't being reciprocated. I just didn't. I never thought about it. I was like, it doesn't need to be reciprocated. Like, this is just my person. This is my thing that I do. But as I go through my relationships, like, I've learned that no, that's just not healthy. Like, it has to be reciprocated, or I need to not dive as deep, like get lost, because I would get lost and kind of not listen to myself or do my own things anymore, because I was so busy compromising or doing more to fit that person. And I thought that was normal. I thought that's just what you do. And I mean, I learned that wasn't okay. And actually, one of my relationships was one of my more recent ones that went bad was because of the opposite. This time I was trying to do my time better, spend more time with friends, and prioritize my friends that I've had for so long. And this goes back to the prioritizing relationship versus friendship. And I was focusing more, or I was trying to focus equally, like spend time with my wife because I was married, and then also spend time with my friends. And then sometimes it just wouldn't. When I would choose my friends sometimes over spending time with her, because we did have crazy hours. Like, it wasn't like we were always able to spend all of our time together, but we did live together. And so I still wanted to see my friends too. It wasn't okay at a certain point on her end. And that's when I started experiencing the opposite. Because I was kind of that person. Not the part where I wasn't okay, but the part where this is the first relationship I wasn't like, I was trying to separate things and not be osmosised in and get lost.
That's the thing. Like my final thoughts on this topic is that I feel like a lot of the time we're like taught to be two halves of a whole. Like, you should be able to click with your partner and make one beautiful picture. And I disagree with that. I think you should be two separate halves that are complementary to one another. I feel like you don't need to become one. I feel like you can exist separately together. I know I said that earlier, but I just feel like, two complementary pictures side by side that are beautiful together in unison, but they're also beautiful on their own. Like, you are your own person. You don't become one person when you're in a relationship. That's just my thoughts. I think I don't really believe in that two halves of a whole. Yeah. I just think you're two wholes.
Be like a soulmate.
Yeah, I don't believe in soulmates, but I feel like that's a different conversation.
I don't think I believe in that either.
You guys have final thoughts you want to drop on relationships?
Love is beautiful.
Love is beautiful, and
love hurts too.
It does.
Yeah, don't be afraid. I know, Jen, earlier I think you were saying that's what's scary, is the fact that you go with your gut feeling, you go with your instinct, and then you put in the hard work to go with it. But that's scary, and it's like, yeah, it is. Doing anything new is scary, or following a gut on anything in your life, whether you're going after a goal or a dream, or if all of a sudden you have a whim to do something and it seems like it could be a good idea, but you don't know anything about it. It could be anything. Just think about it. Like, give it time, and don't be afraid to think on it, to do it. Some things are good to jump in, some things are not good to jump in, and that's all up to you.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to go grab one last refill of coffee, and we'll be back to give you guys our recommendations in this week's Brewers Choice. So stick around. We'll be back.
All right, guys, now we're going to give you some recommendations. This is Brewer's Choice. I'm going to start out with actually recommending my favorite ever Daft Punk song, Instant Crush, because it hurts to listen to.
Oh, yikes.
No, it hurts my heart.
It's my favorite,
but
because it brings me down.
But I love the sound of it.
I get to feel like I'm in the rain and the hot Arizona desert.
I love Daft Punk, and that's from Random Access Memories,
yes.
right? Yeah, oh, such a good album.
If
you don't like that
Julian
album, you're wrong.
Casablancas.
Oh, he's in a band, isn't he?
The Strokes,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Great choice, Jen. I am going to go with a movie. It's one of my favorite romantic comedies. Who am I kidding? It is my favorite romantic comedy. I think it's a great representation of love in several different ways, shapes, and forms. And it's Love Actually. So
I haven't watched that in so long.
It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. It's just one of my favorite movies in general. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It's just a great movie overall. Check it out, Love Actually. I'm pretty sure it's streaming on the Netflix. So
you like a lot of British stuff, huh?
I do. I watched a lot of BBC growing up, and
nice.
Yeah, I love it. Great programming over there. What about you, Bryce?
Well, mine's not going to be themed on today's episode, but I did want to recommend my buddy who created a page on Facebook called Music Heals, and HEALS, and it's all just about bringing people together, creators who are creating music, and in this time of quarantine, all these live streams, and he has been putting on some live streams. I just wanted to shout him out for that and definitely give him a listen. I believe he goes on YouTube on Wednesday nights and on Instagram and Facebook on Saturday nights. And his name's James Berkeley, but check out his page, Music Heals, on Facebook. Give him a listen.
Is it a group?
No, solo artist, stuff he's been creating over the past several years, and now he's releasing them over several live feeds.
Dope.
Yeah, and it's all acoustic. It's all him, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, guys. I think that is going to wrap up our episode for today. As always, send those emails in. We want to hear from you. We want that feedback. Brewedconvos@gmail.com. BREWEDCONVOS@gmail.com. Write in. Let us know what you think of the show. We want to hear all of your suggestions. We also have a few social media pages. Jen, where can they go if they want to find us?
You can reach us on Twitter at Brewed Combos as well. And then you can also check out our Instagram and Facebook at Brewed Podcast.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, and Instagram, I just posted the video of our little pour over thingy.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very
Pour-over
beautiful.
experiment.
Go look at it.
Well, we're not sure what it's
Go
called.
give it a
Chemex or a
like.
pour over. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. We will see you next time. I'm Adonis.
I'm Bryce.
I'm Jen. Love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.